Alright guys, in today's breakdown video, I'm going to be breaking down a song that I made. I figured I would go through the whole song, show you the process of how I made it, and how I generally go about making songs for that matter. And I'm hoping it's a helpful video because I didn't actually use any loops for this song, I didn't buy any plugins. Everything that I used is either stock FL Studio plugins or just free samples I found online. But anyway, let's break down what you're waiting for. Alright, so when I started this track, I was just messing around with stock FL plugins, which is how I usually start a track. This plugin is Toxic Biohazard, very typical for me to start with. This exact preset is actually a sequencer. This is how it sounds when you first load it up. But if you just hit this button here, it turns off the sequencer. And I also took off the delay, and that's all I did to this plugin. Now it's just one note. Alright, so I just took that note and I built some chords in the piano roll. Quick disclaimer, I am not that good at music theory. I understand how to structure a chord. If you told me to play like G major add 7, it's gonna take me a minute to actually structure it. I know what that means, but it doesn't come naturally to me. So anyway, when I built this chord progression, I literally just did it by ear. I was probably messing around with the piano. So let's play this chord progression through. Alright, so that's the chord progression that starts the song. If we skip ahead to the drop, it is the same chord progression, I just spliced it up and added a couple other notes. So you can see I added a couple notes up here just to break up the monotony of the chord progression. I also messed with the velocity a lot throughout this. So you can see there's a few chords that are quieter just to build up to the next chord and stuff like that. Adds a little bit of variety and it's not so robotic. So that's literally all the chords in the song. That's what most of it was structured around. As soon as I had that, I was like, this might be something to work with. Kind of fire. So that's what I started with. The next thing I added was the drums, and that's usually what I do. I build the drums off of usually I start with the snare or the hi-hat, work my way all the way up to the kick drum, just because the kick drum is what drives the song. Sometimes when I add it too early, it almost hypes up the song more in my head than it actually is. And I'm like, whoa, this is so good. But in reality, it's just because the kick drum is driving it and it sounds good. So what I'll do is I'll start with the snare and the hi-hat. Another thing I want to clarify real fast, that when I built the song, it was just a loop. It was just an 8-bar loop that I had going over and over and over again. And all this was stacked on top of each other, and I structured it later. I had the rim shot in there, then I added this hi-hat. And then I added another secondary hi-hat to go along with it. Now right here is where I decided that I didn't want the rim shot in the breakdown. So I think I did separate the two chord progressions at this point. This is where I added a clap. Now once I had that, I was like, okay, I feel confident that I can add the kick drum now. I added this kick drum sample. By the way, all these drum samples, actually all the ones I've used so far are from the same sample pack. If I have a link to it, I will put it in the description. Anyway, here's the kick drum. Now right here is where I added the bass. I'm gonna skip the bass for now, just so I can show you the rest of the drums really fast because they're not as important. We'll get to the bass in a second. Here is an open hi-hat that I added for the drop. Now I have this layered currently in the exact way that I built it. I didn't really organize this. So right here is where I structured the whole song. You can see all this automation down here. That is when I built the song. So that's all of the different EQs changing and reverb and stuff like that. So real quick, a couple other drum things that I added after the song was structured. I believe this is a tambourine. Real quick, isolated. Sounds a lot less cool when it's by itself. Here is, I believe, another open hi-hat. You can't really hear it with everything else, so here's that isolated. Now the only other percussion stuff that I added was all risers and crashes and transition noises, stuff like that. You can see all that here. They all do the same thing, they just sound a little bit different. Here's an example. Then we have this little swell right here. It's just stuff like that going throughout the whole song. Oh, actually this sound right here, pretty much just white noise. Oh, there's also the build-up on top of it. What that's for is the second breakdown. A lot of times I'll add something like that just to give it a little bit more energy, put it way in the background, and just kind of sidechain it to the kick so that you can't hear it too much. I'll show you once I put everything together with the automation and stuff, but it just adds a little bit of something so that it gives the song more energy and dynamics. Okay, here is the drum loop all together. Okay, now that all that's together, I'll show you what I was talking about with the white noise. Right when you see this sound start, you'll hear just a little bit more energy. It's kind of going in the background, but it separates it from this section a little bit. You know, right here, it's just kind of empty, kind of flat, I guess, and then you'll hear it change up right here where this starts. It sounds kind of loud right now, but once everything's on top of it, you don't really hear it that much. All right, let's get into the bass. That was probably the hardest part of this song to make. Here's the thing about this bass pattern is that I pretty much had an idea of how I wanted it to go in my head. So in this pattern, you can see all these notes that have triangles on them. These are slide notes, so it's gonna be hard to hear, but every time you see one of those notes that has a triangle on it, it's sliding to that note. So right here where this stair step looking part is, it's kind of just building up in pitch. Let me just play it through and you can see exactly what's happening. Kind of fire, I have to admit. Still probably my favorite part of this song. There's really not too much to say about how I built that. I messed with it for a long time before it sounded exactly how I wanted it to sound. All these slides were hard to get right, and you can see right in the middle here, there's just notes all over the place, but it does sound exactly how I envisioned it in my head. So here's the bass with everything else going at the same time. Real quick, while we're here, I want to show you a little bit about how I structured the song. It's pretty basic structuring, as you can see here. I have pretty much an A part and a B part. I have the A chord progression and the B chord progression. The drums are slightly different for the two parts, but not really. It's just the rim shot instead of the clap, and I obviously took out the kick and stuff like that. What really drives the song is all the automation that I have down here. So like this reverb, I believe, is on the bass. I have this love filter effect on the lead chords. I'll show you what that does in a minute. Let's just go through this automation real fast and I'll show you what everything does. Okay, so the automation for the lead chords, I have the reverb. You can't really hear the difference unless you just pause it. So this is what happens when you play a note really fast by itself with no reverb. Very flat sounding, add the reverb. Pretty basic stuff. This limiter right here, you're gonna see a lot of limiters in my effects. I use the limiter to sidechain the kick. It's a basic compressor that I have right here. You can see sidechain. It goes to the kick. They all do the same thing. I might do a breakdown video about how I do that exactly, but if you see the limiter, just assume that it's for sidechain. Right here we have the love filter effect. It's also sidechain actually. It's just a different way of doing it. This doesn't have to sidechain to anything. It's just a manual ramp for the volume. So I have the love filter automation in this ramp right here. You can hear how it changes as it goes up. You hear how the volume's like ducking out. And then I just have a basic EQ on it for one part of the song where I take out some of the bass. Now I did change up the bass pattern right here for this build-up just because it was a little overcomplicated with everything else. You can see how much simpler it is in this version from this version here. As for the effects, you can see I've got EQ. This is just taking out a lot of the bass right here. I add in a little bit more right when it drops, and then I add all the bass back in right here. This is a master EQ down here, taking out just a little bit of bass right before it drops. Here is that bass with the automation for the EQ. You can also hear the reverb ramping up right here. And then all the reverb drops out right here. Add back in the bass. That's how I automated the song for the most part up until now. You can see some stuff down here. Mostly it's the same stuff. This is the second drop. You can see I literally copy and pasted the automation. This is just an EQ to take out some of the bass for the kick. I don't even think the kick's in there, so honestly just ignore it. Ignore that entirely. So that's pretty much that. That's what I had before I added any vocals or anything. I'll just go ahead and play through the drop exactly as it was when I first built it. It sounds so empty without everything else that I added now, the tambourine and stuff. Let me add that in real quick. I'll show you the difference in how it sounds. Just a little bit more going on, you know. Alright, that is pretty much how I had it for a hot minute. Obviously added all this after that automation and structuring. Now I didn't originally plan to put any vocals on the beat at all, but I liked the song so much and I wanted to upload it, but I didn't think that anyone would listen to like 3 minutes straight of just instrumental. I might still upload the instrumental just because it's kind of fire, but I needed to make it a little more interesting. So I do a lot of sample searching. I just find random songs and I sample them. The way that I find samples, I don't even know. I find songs that I like, I start radios off of those, I'll search random words in the search bar and see what comes up, start radio stations off of those, find similar artists. I do the whole thing. I might do a whole video about how I find samples because it's insane. Long story short, I found this song.
Tell me what you're waiting for. Tell me what you're waiting for.
So I took that one line from the song, I pitched it up about half an octave or so. This is what it sounds like on its own, pitched up.
Tell me what you're waiting for.
And then I added a ton of effects. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to go through all of them. You can see them here. I've got the side chain, I've got reverb, automated, EQ. I don't even know why there's 3 delays. They're probably all different delay amounts or timing. We'll go through all the automation in a second, but I want to break down all the different vocal chops that I did. So I started with just that one line at the drop.
Tell me what you're waiting for.
Pretty basic. After I added that line, I found this part of the song.
So tell me your vibe, you tell me your life, I'll keep it quiet.
So as you can see, I kind of spliced that up, moved some words around. It sounds natural though. I don't even remember what it sounded like originally. You can go check out the original song if you're interested in hearing that. So I also added this little chop right here. It sounds a little goofy on its own. Let me just play it through. That's it. That's all it is. It's subtle, but it adds a little bit of something. And it also links to a part in the second half of the song where it does that, but louder, and it fits in the drop. So this just ties it all together. This is actually that second half of the song right here. As you can see, the vocal chop is pretty much exactly the same for the build up and for the drop. But like I said, I added this part down here. You can see it building up here and then it drops, and there's a couple different chops here. I'll just play those chops through and then you can see how they fit in the song. I was just going through the whole audio track and I found those in there. Let me just play it with the whole song so you can see how it fits in. Alright, so that's actually all that I added to the song. Everything else is automation, which I'll try to break down. I'm not going to do a full breakdown of this automation because it would take way too long. I'll show you most of what I put in here from this view. I won't go into the effects and everything, but hopefully you can understand what the stuff does from this view. So as you can see right here, we have a delay on this main vocal at the start of the song. So this is what it sounds like without that delay.
Tell me what you
You can hear the reverb still, but there's no delay. And then this is what it sounds like if you have the delay on.
tell me what you tell me what you tell me what you tell me.
It's just the echo, that's all it is. So you can see that goes throughout there. We have this other delay time for the vocals in the breakdown. So this is what it sounds like without that delay.
Tell me what you're waiting for.
And this is what it sounds like with the delay.
Tell me what you're waiting for.
I also have this little bit right here. I don't even know what this is for exactly.
Keep it quiet.
There you go. So this reverb is just for the vocals. It's very subtle. You can hear the difference right here. This is with reverb, even though it's off, it is with it versus without it. So I have it on for the build up and stuff, and you can see that it cuts all the way out when I have the drop. That just takes away from some of the noise and stuff, gives a little bit more of a defined drop. I have another delay down here for some little stuff in the build up right here.
Tell me your life.
Same stuff as usual. We have another delay here. That delay is actually useless. There used to be something here. I took it out. We have some volume right here. So you can see this pink wave looking volume automation. That's for that little vocal chop I showed you earlier. It sounds like it has delay on it, but it actually doesn't. That's just the volume automation. This is without it. You can hear it's just the same volume all the way through. This little bit of delay right here is just for this one part in the song. That's all that's for. You can see this, I don't know, I don't even know what some of these are for, honestly. There's this little delay ramp added for probably the same thing if I had to guess. I guess I must have added that to add that delay or accentuate it. This green EQ here is just taking out some of the bass from the lead chords at the top of the track. And then we have a master volume automation that just dips down at the end to fade out. This limiter here is just for dynamics. It's more so a mastering limiter. This just compresses everything right at the drop, makes it a lot louder, and gives it the dynamics that you need. As you can see, I added a little bit of a stab right here, just where that kick hits on the second drop.
Tell me what you're waiting for.
And yeah, you can see, I mean, some of this stuff is crazy, dude. This reverb here is for the vocal chops. It just changes it up a little bit. So I'll show you just the vocal chops with that reverb playing so you can see how it changes. I have less reverb right here. I stack it back up right here. Just to make all those fit together. That's literally all it is. Bunch of automation. It looks complicated. It's not really that much going on. Anyway, here's how everything looks when you have it all zoomed out. Let me close the automation so it looks a little less complicated. So like I said, there were kind of two waves that I built this song in. You can see the first wave here. That was when I had the loop and then I broke it out into a structure. And then the second part here is pretty much just when I added the vocals, but there were a couple other things I added on top of it. Anyway, real quick, I'm just gonna play through this drop and I'll scroll around and show you different parts of the song so you can see what's happening.
So tell me your life. You tell me your life. I'll keep it quiet. So tell me your life. You tell me your life. So tell me your life. You tell me your life. I'll keep it quiet. So tell me your life. You tell me your life. Tell me what you're waiting for.
I'm also going to play through the second drop just so you can see how everything changed from the first drop to the second drop. I didn't really add that much, just a little bit to give it some dynamics. So I know this is a slightly different video than usual, but I do plan to make some more production related videos in the upcoming future. I'm not like the greatest producer in the world, but I do have a few tips and tricks. Like I said, I might do a video about sample searching. I might do a video about automation and stuff like that. Maybe we'll just build a song from scratch on a video so that you can see how I would go about that. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and found it helpful. Make sure to go check out my song, What You're Waiting For, on all streaming platforms. And let me know if there's other breakdowns that you want to see. I love dissecting other people's songs. It helps me with my production, and I'm sure it can help you guys with your production. But yeah, I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.